Have you ever felt it? That prickle on the back of your neck when you're alone in an old house. The sudden, irrational certainty that you're being watched. We dismiss it. Nerves, an overactive imagination, the wind. But what if it's something more? What if it's an echo, a resonance left behind by intense emotion, by tragedy, by rage so potent it stains the very fabric of a place, of a culture? My name is Ilara Vance, and I study maps, not just the ones of paper and ink showing rivers and borders, but the maps of human belief, the landscapes of folklore. And for years, I charted the territories of the supernatural from a safe distance, cataloging legends, comparing motifs, treating them as fascinating, intricate cultural artifacts, benign curiosities, until the maps started bleeding into my own world. It began subtly, researching late one night, surrounded by texts on global ghost lore. I heard it, faintly at the edge of hearing, weeping, a woman's desolate sobbing, seemingly coming from just outside my window. I live on the 10th floor, probably the wind, I told myself, or sounds carrying strangely from the street below. But it planted a seed, a cold seed of doubt that began to sprout as I delved deeper into stories born not just from individual tragedy, but from the collective soul of a people. Stories like La Llorona. Travel through Mexico, through parts of the American Southwest, and listen closely near rivers, canals, even irrigation ditches after sundown. You might hear her. La Llorona, the weeping woman. The most common version tells of Maria, a woman of breathtaking beauty but humble origins, who fell desperately in love with a wealthy nobleman. They married, had 2 children, and for a time, perhaps, they were happy. But the nobleman's eye wandered. He spent less time at home, favored his children, but openly disdained Maria for her background. And then, one day, Maria saw him riding in a carriage with another woman, elegant and refined. He paused to speak to his children, but completely ignored Maria. Consumed by a blinding, consuming rage and despair, Maria did the unthinkable. She dragged her own children to the river and drowned them. The moment the current stole them away, sanity returned with crushing force. Screaming their names, she ran along the riverbank, searching frantically, her cries echoing in the darkness. Ay, mis hijos, oh my children. They say she wandered, weeping, refusing food or drink until she wasted away. But her spirit found no rest, denied entry to the afterlife until she could find her lost children. She is cursed to roam the waterways forever, her mournful cry a warning, a lament, a threat. Some say she seeks to replace her own lost children and will snatch any child she finds wandering near the water after dark. Others believe her cry is an omen of death or misfortune. She is a figure born of betrayal, of desperate love twisted into monstrous grief, of regret so profound it etches itself onto the night itself. She is the chilling embodiment of maternal love corrupted, of inescapable sorrow. Her story isn't just a tale told around campfires. It's a cultural touchstone, a cautionary legend reflecting deep-seated fears about loss, fidelity, and the terrifying power of unchecked emotion. It permeates the landscape, the soundscape, a haunting bound to the water's edge. After immersing myself in the lore of La Llorona, the sounds started. Not just that first time. A dripping faucet in my kitchen seemed to mimic the rhythm of sobbing. Walking home one rainy evening, passing the canal that cuts through the city, I heard it again. That high, thin wail, just beneath the rush of traffic. Coincidence, I told myself. Auditory pareidolia, the brain finding patterns in random noise. Stress, lack of sleep. My academic mind desperately sought rational explanations. But the feeling was harder to dismiss. A cold dread that lingered long after the sound was gone. A sense that something ancient and sorrowful had brushed past me in the dark. It made me wonder, what happens when grief isn't just sorrowful, but fueled by burning injustice, by betrayal that cuts deeper than any blade, that led me across the globe, metaphorically speaking, to the shores of Japan and the concept of the Yūrei. Japanese folklore is rich with spirits, but the Yūrei hold a particular place of dread. These are not gentle ancestors. They are souls tethered to our world by powerful, often violent emotions experienced at the moment of death, particularly betrayal, jealousy, hatred, or a desire for vengeance. They often appear as they did in death, sometimes bearing horrific injuries, clad in the white burial kimono, their hair long and disheveled. They are driven, relentless, focused on the source of their lingering torment. Perhaps the most infamous Yūrei tale is that of Oiwa, from the story Yotsuya Kaidan. Oiwa was married to a ronin, a masterless samurai named Iemon. Iemon was cruel, ambitious, and grew tired of his wife, especially after the granddaughter of a wealthy neighbor fell in love with him. Conspiring with the neighbor, Iemon was given a poison, deceptively presented as medicine for Oiwa, who was ill after childbirth. The poison didn't kill her immediately. Instead, it hideously disfigured her face. Her hair fell out in clumps. One eye drooped grotesquely. When she saw her reflection in a mirror, the horror broke her. The details vary. In some versions, she dies from the shock and poison. In others, Iemon has her killed, or she dies accidentally while trying to confront him. But her death is only the beginning. Her vengeful spirit, her Yūrei, begins to haunt Iemon relentlessly. He sees her disfigured face everywhere, superimposed on the face of his new bride, leering from lanterns, reflected in cups of sake. Her spectral presence drives him mad. She ensures his new marriage is destroyed, his ambitions thwarted, his life a living hell till he meets his own grisly end. Oiwa's story is a potent exploration of betrayal's consequences. Unlike La Llorona's sorrowful wandering, Oiwa's haunting is focused, personal, and terrifyingly direct. It speaks to a cultural understanding of how profound injustice can create an imbalance that death itself cannot rectify. The spirit demands retribution, its anguish made manifest, a visible scar on the world mirroring the scars inflicted upon it. La Llorona's grief, Oiwa's rage. Two distinct spirits, born from different lands, different tragedies. Yet, studying them by side, I felt a disturbing convergence. The intensity, the way potent emotion could seemingly warp reality, weaving an indelible psychic stain. The water, the mirror, conduits for their appearances, and my own experiences escalated. It wasn't just sounds anymore, fleeting glimpses in reflective surfaces. A distorted face in the polished surface of my kettle, gone when I lipped again. The distinct scent of river mud in my landlocked apartment hallway. Whispers at night that seemed to blend languages. Snippets of Spanish grief turning into sharp, sibilant Japanese accusations. My academic detachment was fracturing. The folklorist was becoming the haunted. I started sleeping with the lights on. I avoided mirrors after dark. I stopped walking near the canal. It felt like my research wasn't just about these entities. It felt like I had somehow drawn their attention, like charting their territories on my maps had inadvertently put me on their spectral paths. Had I disturbed something? Or had I simply tuned myself to a frequency of sorrow and rage that was always there, vibrating just beneath the surface of the world? The rational explanations felt increasingly flimsy, like trying to dam a flood with tissue paper. The fear was no longer academic. It was visceral, immediate. It coiled in my stomach, tightened my chest. One night, deepest hour, silence so profound it felt heavy, suffocating. I was working late again, trying to rationalize, trying to anchor myself in facts and footnotes. My window overlooks the city lights, a familiar, comforting view. Usually, there was no balcony, no ledge wide enough to stand on, nothing, just 10 stories of sheer brick below. My blood ran cold. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, frozen, staring at the glass, expecting I don't know what. Then condensation began to form on the inside of the glass, despite the dry air in the room. It spread rapidly, obscuring the city lights like a white shroud. And within the swirling condensation, lines began to form, etching themselves onto the pane. It wasn't writing. It was a face that distorted, horribly wrong. One side seemed to melt downwards, the eye drooping, slack-jawed, like Oiwa's disfigurement, but the other side was frozen in a silent scream, tears that looked like they were made of river water streaming down. It was both. It was neither. It was an amalgamation of grief and vengeance, pulled from the cultural ether, given shape by my focus, my fear. The glass grew icy cold to the touch, even from where I stood paralyzed across the room. The weeping sound returned, not distant now, but seeming to emanate from the face on the glass, a sound thick with centuries of sorrow and rage. And beneath it, the whispers overlapping, accusatory, promising retribution, lamenting loss. I must have screamed, or maybe I just collapsed. The next thing I knew, sunlight was streaming through the window. The glass was clear. No condensation, no face, just the city waking up below, indifferent. But the cold lingered in that corner of the room for days. And the feeling that the veil between worlds, once academically observed, had become perilously thin for me, that hasn't left. Was it real? A stress-induced hallucination fueled by immersing myself too deeply in these terrifying narratives? Or did I brush against something genuine? An echo of La Llorona's sorrow amplified by Oiwa's rage, resonating across cultures, across time, finding a focal point in my own susceptible mind. I don't have the answers. My maps of folklore feel different now. Less like abstract representations, more like warnings. These stories, La Llorona, the Yūrei, and countless others from every corner of the globe, they persist for a reason. They tap into universal human experiences: love, loss, betrayal, injustice, and the terrifying possibility that death is not always the end, especially when powerful emotions remain unresolved. They are echoes across worlds, whispers from the spectral cartography that underlies our own reality. Perhaps they serve as cautionary tales. Perhaps they are acknowledgments of the darkness human hearts are capable of, both inflicting and enduring. Or perhaps they are dormant energies, waiting for the right conditions, the right listener to coalesce once more. I closed my research files on La Llorona and Oiwa, packed them away. But sometimes, late at night, when the building settles, or when I pass a reflective surface too quickly, I still feel it, a lingering chill, a sense of being watched by unseen eyes weeping in the shadows. The echoes haven't faded entirely. Maybe they never will. Thank you for joining me on the Haunt Line. The stories we tell shape our world, and sometimes they hint at the worlds that lie just beyond our perception. If you felt a chill listening, if these echoes resonated with you, please support the channel. Like this episode, subscribe for more journeys into the landscapes of the supernatural, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration. Share these stories if you dare. You never know who else might be listening in the shadows. Until next time, tread carefully through the mapped and unmapped territories of fear.